Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So for today we're going to be reviewing the FT012 FEI LUN high-speed brushless racing boat. So we're taking a little break from aerial vehicles this week and had the opportunity to review this bad boy from gearbest.com. Uh, this is a high-speed brushless LiPo-powered racing boat, which kind of really intrigued me because, you know, being the fact that it is brushless and it is LiPo powered. Usually brushless and LiPo batteries, the combination of the two are pretty darn fast. And also just by the looks of it, it did look pretty well built and interesting to try out. So I went ahead and wanted to review this. I got the black version. There is a red version as well. But just by first looks, it's a really sleek looking, nice, well made, looks to be well made hobby grade RC boat. You turn it around the back here, you can see everything is really, looks pretty well built, pretty strong plastic. You've got metal parts, and you can just kind of tell by the fit and finish of the whole boat that it should be a boat that will run pretty well. Let's see what else we get in the box here. So they give you this cool looking stand. It's just like 3 pieces. You just slap them together, and so you can put the boat on the stand, which is nice. This is the stock battery that comes in the package. It's a 25C3S 11.1 volt 1800 mAh LiPo battery. Battery charger. It's basically a balanced LiPo battery charger. They don't give you, well, the version I got, it has a Euro plug, and if you don't already have one of these adapters, I'd recommend before you order this just to make sure you have one of these adapters laying around the house. These are only a couple dollars from eBay. I'll have the link in the description of this adapter as well as where you can get this boat if you'd like to purchase one. They also give you a bag full of extra parts. They give you 2 nose cones. These are basically just little hard plastic rubber protectors to slip on the nose of the boat, so that if you are kind of running in an area where you might, maybe in the pool, where you might hit some concrete walls or something, this will keep the boat from breaking. So they give you 2 of these, which is nice. And they also give you 2 extra props. So they give you 2 extra plastic propellers. Definitely a bonus. You get 1 propeller on the boat itself. And they also give you a tool bag that has some marine grease. You've got a little Allen wrench here to open up your drive shaft and do a few more other things with these tools. And they also give you a double-sided wrench here to also work on it, and a couple little grub screws just in case you lose some of the grub screws that are holding some of the drive shaft components together. They give you a couple spares, so that's nice. You also get this nice looking trigger controller. It's got a little cover here. It's a 2.4 gigahertz, kind of like an RC car controller. With you've got your throttle, reverse, and left and right steering here. Very simple. And you pop open this little guard here, and then you get your steering trim. If the boat is curving to one direction, you would go ahead and just trim this right or left, just to make sure it will go straight for you. And then you got your steering gain here. So what this does is if you're kind of going at high speed and you end up turning a little too much and the boat will like flip over because it's gripping into the water too much and turning too fast, you can actually turn this up or down to make it a little easier for you to control in the water depending on how fast you're going. Clockwise will give you more gain, which will turn the rudder farther when you turn the wheel, and counterclockwise will give you less gain, which when you turn the wheel full, it'll only turn the rudder a little bit. So you have better for high speed runs, having this all the way down, and for low speed and harder turning, turn it up. You've got your on-off switch here. Okay, but it's just basically a 2.4 gigahertz little antenna here, and it takes 6 AA batteries. And last but not least, they give you the instruction manual. And this basically goes through, of course, normal instruction manual, goes through everything on how to control your boat, how to set it up, how to put everything on, how to charge the battery, and all that basic stuff. We already talked about the outside. Let's go ahead and take off the cover and look at the inside. And you just have this little lock mechanism here for the very top cover. We take that off and we just pull this top cover off. It's just basically a cosmetic top cover, which reveals the actual seal. And the seal is removed by flipping these locks parallel to the cover. And once we take that seal cover off, we can see the inside. Now the first thing you'll see is the overall build quality of this thing is really nice. You're going to see the servo where it's mounted, and you're going to see all these little white sealing. It's like this rubber waterproofing compound they put on everything, which is really nice. It kind of makes the electronics pretty waterproof. So you're going to see the battery holder here where you put the battery in. You'll see the actual drive shaft. The outer portion actually doesn't spin. The inner portion spins, and there's a bearing on each end. There's a bearing here, and there's a bearing right on this mount here. And then you've got this little dog bone, which locks it into the motor here. Now this is a brushless motor, which has a lot of torque. It's got to have quite a bit of torque to be able to throttle off and on, especially in water, to turn this prop and push the boat. The specs on the motor and everything are in the instruction manual, but I believe it's around 1500 kV. I'm not quite sure on that, but it's got a lot of torque. And then what's cool about this is it actually has a water cooling system. You'll see these hoses coming from the bottom of the boat. This is the inlet here. And you would think maybe it's got a pump system, but it's not a pump water cooling system. What it is it's a forced gravity pressure water cooling system, where as you gain speed, the water's forced in forward motion. The water's forced up through this inlet, and it goes through the hose. This is the electronic speed control here, and the receiver kind of built into one. It'll pump through this water cooling jacket, through the speed control, and back down through this little motor radiator, and then out through this exit hole on the side here. So you won't get any water flow. My mistake was when I first turned it on, I was just testing it in a little pool, and I wanted to see the pump. I thought there was a pump in it, and I wanted to see the water actually come through, but no water came through, and I figured out, okay, it's just a pressure, self-pressure system. So just keep that in mind. If you're doing like a lot of low-speed running, I wouldn't run it much without it being in the water and actually going fast, or components could overheat. So that's basically the inside. Everything is very well put together. All the screws are on tight. You've got your wiring tucked up nicely up here just in case water does get in the bottom of the boat. The wiring is going to be out of the water there. And then for the rudder steering, you've got this little wire attached to the servo, which goes out through this sort of waterproof silicone cap here, and goes out and can control the rudder for your steering there. So overall, just by first glance, it really looks well put together. I know I've said that a few times, but I'm very impressed. I mean, for the $60 to $70 this thing costs, I've never seen something like this, or this quality and this hobby grade be that cheap. But anyway, enough of the talk on how it looks. Let's go ahead and go out there, test the thing, get some run times, get some time on the water, come back, give you a pros and cons and what I really thought about it, and then do kind of a final wrap up.
Alright, let's test the range. Oh, right there. Say that's about 150 feet. Still okay, a couple of hits on the bottom, no problem. Things fast, that's for sure. Missed that pole. Okay, so it basically cuts the throttle down to that max speed so you can get back when the battery gets low. Cool. Now let's check how much water's in this bad boy. I'm assuming the water's going to partially come in around the seal and then also probably some up the propeller shaft. Let's check it out. Alright, so you can see in the bottom we've got it looks like maybe 4 tablespoons. Let's see how much that is in here. Let's try to empty it out. Alright, so you can see how much water was in the bottom of the boat. It seems like a lot in here, but actually the boat was fine. Didn't seem like it affected it that much. And this is all brushless electronics, so I don't think it will really affect it. Cool, I'm pretty impressed with that run. Let's take out this battery and try another one. This is a 2700 mAh and the stock one is a 1800 mAh. This is from this Cheerson CX20, but since the Cheerson CX20 I got bigger batteries, I just use this as a bench battery. So let's see how it does with this one. It's going to be a little more weight, but it'll probably give me more run time. The stock battery was giving me about 8 to 10 minutes, depending on if you're on full throttle the whole time or kind of taking breaks. Let's see how this one does. Just make sure all that water's out as much as possible. This battery is going to be a little bit of a, it's not going to seal totally, so I think 2500 mAh might be perfect for a larger capacity battery, because this one actually prevents it from sealing the whole way. You can see there, just pushing up on it a little bit, which is not good when you want to seal it. So 2700 mAh might be a little too big just for seal purposes, but let's give it a try. Yeah, it's going to get some more water in there with this battery. But it seems to do okay with dealing with water inside, so may not be an issue. Just check everything's working before we put the final cover on. Seal the drain plug up. And we're good to go. So I'm going to time this battery, see what kind of run time we get. Flips over easier because there's more weight on one side. Ooh. It's like bouncing. Oh, that's why. So it looks like you're going to want to check these side fins once in a while. You can kind of see how this one pushed up, maybe from when I hit the ground, or just a really high pressure turn and crash in the water pushed that up. So if one of these is up, one of these is down, it's going to affect your turning, so you might want to check on those. That's better. Do a couple of donuts. Alright, so that was 4 minutes, and I'm just going to check on how much water's in there. I'm going to stop the stopwatch for a second. Yeah, so more water's getting in quicker because the seal isn't sealing with this higher capacity battery. So if you're going to use a higher capacity battery, definitely use one smaller than 2700 mAh, just so it clears that the seal there. Let's check our side fins. Looks good. Yeah, I can go all the way across this thing almost, as long as I'm holding the controller up. These are new batteries, so looking at getting about 150 to 200 feet. Thing I forgot to check was this hose. You want to make sure that's clear because it's not pump system, it's pushes the water through as it gains more speed and there's more pressure underneath the boat to push the water in. So you're going to want to make sure this is clear for sure. So like in a muddy kind of environment like this, you're going to want to double check that every once in a while. Not bad in the wind. You can see as it gets up to speed and some chop, it will start to bounce and flip. But that's pretty darn good for how windy it is right now. It's probably gusting at like 15 to 20. Wow, this thing is great. Keeps on going. Easy to flip, back over. Alright, just hit that pipe. No damage. Oh. Keep that stuff clear. Looks good. Whew. Try some slalom. Yeehaw! Man, this thing just split. Some air spins. Alright, there was the low voltage. Now this is maximum throttle. Just to get us home. 16 minutes of pretty hard mixed use on the 2700 mAh battery. Everything seems fine. The low speed to return when the battery gets low, and you also get this green blinking on the controller there. That's two features. Alright, cool. No damage. Everything looks good. Prop's fine. The side fins are fine. Oh, it looks like this one popped up. The right side. No wonder it was a little bit bit squirrely on that last 4-minute timing. This thing popped up. They just have these little tabs that pop back down. But again, make sure they're both even for nice steady handling. But everything looks great. I was hitting the bottom a few times coming in close. And, you know, be it this isn't rocky, this is a dirt reservoir, so rocks might have dinged it up a little bit, but I don't see anything at all except for a few scrapes on the bottom of this rudder here. Everything else looks perfectly fine. Cool, good test. Let's get back to the table and go through the final thoughts and pros and cons on this bad boy.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we're back from a few demo runs down at the reservoir, and when we first got there, the wind was really calm, and then the wind kind of picked up, and it was great for that to happen because it gave us a few varying conditions of how it would run in really flat water versus kind of choppy water. As you saw, when the water was nice and smooth, of course the boat's going to be butter smooth, just with a little bit of skipping. And as the water kind of got a little more choppy, it did kind of bounce a lot, but it seemed like as long as you were not really turning it much, it would hold its course fairly well. There was some jumping, flipping, turning, but that's just the nature of the beast when you're going this fast with this size boat in that kind of water. These little fins on the sides actually did work really well to stabilize it. What you did notice is sometimes when I would maybe flip it and spin out of control, I think one of these, either that or when I was kind of hitting the mud, one of these was pushing up a little bit. They've just got these little notches in here, and if you don't catch how it pushes up and you keep driving it with this pushed up, it'll actually handle way worse. So you want to check that if you have like a bad high-speed crash, or if you hit something on the shoreline, you want to check that these are both the same height coming out of the water, or you'll have steering problems. I really like that this rudder actually came down below everything because it gave it a really good kind of a protection against the bottom. And I scraped the bottom quite a few times, and really there's just a little tiny bit of scrapage on the bottom here, which you really can't notice much at all. So anyway, moving on. You didn't also notice the water in the boat. There was a little bit of water that came in. I would say with the stock battery, since it was sealing really well with a stock battery, maybe with that 8 to 10 minutes of runtime, there was maybe about, I don't know, 3 to 5 tablespoons of water in the bottom. And I think just RC boats in general, you're gonna get some water in the bottom because of the drive system. It's not completely sealed. Of course, there's the issue of possibly some water getting in the seal area, but then you also have the drive system where everything is not completely watertight in here. So from where the drive system exits the boat, there's always going to be some kind of leakage there, some slight leakage. So for 8 to 10 minutes to have that little bit of water in here, I think that's normal in a marine type of vehicle, whether it be a real vehicle or an RC vehicle in general. But really easy, just take the plug out and dump it out. And having that water in there, even when the larger capacity battery was in, which made it hard for the top to seal, as you saw in the video, which had a little bit more water, and even though the water was kind of touching the motor, it was performing just fine. I didn't notice any performance hits or problems at all, which is the case usually with brushless systems, is they're really good to deal with water. Run times on the stock battery, 8 to 10 minutes, depending on how hard you're pushing it. On this battery I had laying around the house, a 2700 mAh, which is quite a bit heavier, it was able to handle the weight, and it gave me 14 to 16 minutes of runtime. So keep that in mind. I'd try to get a battery that's a little smaller than this, just so you don't have that seal issue I was having. by the battery actually pushing up on that main seal. So just keep that in mind as well. So getting into the pros and cons, of course, the leakage is a slight con, but that's kind of a known issue with any kind of marine vehicle. So I'm not going to put that as a major con. Pros is it's really well finished, well built. It has that 3S brushless LiPo power, which is always nice. You're just going to get really quick speeds, fast acceleration. And for the size and the type of boat it was actually very stable. I did like the fact that when it did crash and flip and it submerged and came back up, everything was fine. And if it was on its back, upside down, it was easily flippable by just giving it a squirt of throttle and it would just flip over. Occasionally, if it was over, you'd have to hit the throttle a couple times because the torque wouldn't flip it over immediately, but that's no problem. And the range was, I was getting between, I'd say 150 to 200 feet. I did have fresh batteries in the controller, and I noticed that when I was kind of crouching down near the water, of course, I was getting less range, but when I was standing up high and had my hands high in the air, the range came back to maybe that 200 foot to 250 feet range. And if you did lose control of it, you can kind of feel it stuttering as you lose control as you go out of range. All you've got to do is kind of like reposition your controller up higher until it catches the range, and then just make sure you turn it towards you and you should be fine. Another cool thing is it has reverse. The reverse was very useful, like when you're coming close to the shore, and instead of going forward and hitting the shore, you can just kind of reverse out of the situation. And also the reverse kind of helped when it was flipped over. If it wasn't immediately flipping back over with a shot of forward throttle, you could kind of reverse it and then give it some forward throttle to give it that extra kick to flip over. And of course, it's always nice to have the steering, be able to tune your steering. The boat seems very durable, as I've already said a few times. Just the build and fit and finish and quality seems very durable. I would not recommend running this in salt water. I'd recommend definitely running this in fresh water. I'm sure you can run it in salt water, but just keep in mind that salt water destroys electronics, metal, all that stuff. So you will have way less life if you do run it in salt water. And if you do run it in salt water, I'd recommend spraying the whole thing out and letting it dry. Even in fresh water, when you run it in fresh water and you're done for the day, make sure you really shake it out, get all that water out. Make sure all the water gets out of this the actual drive shaft. Turn it on its end, on its bottom, and go ahead and spin the drive shaft until all the water leaks out. Let it sit for about a day in maybe like a sunny area, kind of evaporating. Maybe even have a fan on it just to get all the water, let it dry out from all the water. And then go ahead and on the back and the front joints there, if you can kind of see this, see these little gaps. You want to shoot your bearing oil, your marine grease, right in there, and then give it a few spins, kind of work it in there just to maintain the bearings so they have longer life with that supplied bearing grease they give you. They give you the stand, obviously. It's a bonus that it's water cooled. The water cooling makes it's definitely going to make it last longer, and you're not going to have any fried electronics or problems as long as you keep the speed up as you're using it. And this inlet isn't clogged. You're going to want to make sure that that's free and open and that you can see water in the tubes when you are running it. Another pro is actually the ability to put a larger battery. I would say comfortably maybe a 2500 mAh. And that'll give you more runtime, and it seems to be fine and be able to handle that runtime. You're going to have some leakage. You are in water, so some water is going to get in. Seems to handle it fine. The black color is really nice and sleek. I like the black color, but just keep in mind if you are on a darker like lake or reservoir, the black is always a little harder to see against that darker color. So if you're worried about the black color being harder to see, go ahead and get the red version. There's a nice bright red version. That might be a little easier to see actually. But overall, I am very impressed with this thing. I've been in the hobby realm for a long time, since I was a kid. I've done some racing, been in some competitions, and for the price that this is and the build quality, the fit and finish and all that, I'd say this is a great buy. You can't beat the price, you can't beat the build quality for that price, and it looks like it's going to last a long time as long as you maintain it, keep everything oiled up, keep the water out after you run it. So this is a definite yes in my book. If you like what you saw here and you'd like to pick one up, click the link in the description and that will take you right to it. They do have a few parts on these boats as well. They have extra props, batteries, all that kind of stuff for really great prices, and also I believe they're free shipping to most parts of the world. So check those out if you're interested and you liked what you saw here. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, and comment with any questions you have, and I'll get to them as soon as possible. Stay tuned for more videos. I do a lot of quadcopter aerial reviews as well, so more to come. Thanks for watching.